It's gigantic, and it's supremely capable, but is it worth it? I'm John. Hi, by the way. This is Two Brothers RC, and this is the Flex Innovations Twin Otter 80E. This absolute unit of a plane is the biggest airframe that I've flown so far. And man, does this thing fly well. It is hard to put into words just how well it flies. If I had to try, I would say it flies like a plane made out of wood, yet it's literally just a foam airplane. And it's a light one at that, given how massive it is. For today's review, I'll be using metrics that apply to 3D aircraft at this scale. I'll be covering the following: landing gear, flight time, agility, fit and finish, and avionics and lighting.
That's my first flight, and this thing's already pretty freaking cool, man.
Yeah.
I will say it makes up for the fact that it's a pain in the butt to...
Do it again.
It's a pain in the butt to put together, but man, does it fly good.
Starting with the landing gear, the wheels do work, but they're hard plastic, or whatever you want to call it, when a wheel has almost no give to it and therefore functions more as a rolling boulder, rather than providing suspension to the airframe. The suspension is stiff, and that's actually a good thing in this metric, as the propellers are made of wood and will shatter easily if they hit something, so that stiffness is much appreciated. I just wish that the wheels would absorb some of the shock of landings and takeoffs. The Twin Otter gets a 4 out of 5 here.
Short field takeoff, let's go. I love full span flaps.
Short field takeoffs brought to you by John, I'm not gonna bush fly at Holmes.
That's right.
Flight time is pretty great for a twin with huge motors powered by a single 6-cell pack. Optimal flight times can be achieved using a 6000 class battery. My personal preference was SMC 6200 high voltage packs. You can expect to get an average of 6 minutes of aggressive 3D flying out of this plane. Probably way more if you're less aggressive with it. The twin props eat up battery power for sure, though I wish they provided a little bit more thrust given how unquenchable their thirst for voltage is. Agility is, I'd basically say it's best in class, assuming that there's even a class of 80-inch foam airplanes that can do what this thing does. Be prepared for this agility chapter to be huge because this is going to be a long video. This thing is friggin' phenomenal. I can't even say enough good things about how it flies. To get the scoring criteria out of the way, not like you really even need it here, it'll handle the runway corridor if I want to fly there, meaning that it has no problems flying in tight spaces, but it's more at home in bigger fields like this area of the airport that's more suited to 3D flying. The motors do produce a lot of thrust, making a pass here, but I did find myself wishing it had just a little bit more power to get out of a hover easier. Otherwise, you can just listen to me blather on while I fly it, because honestly, it's just this good.
Okay, so you can just front flip in place.
That's awesome.
That's insane. I have to admit, even though I've got quality issue concerns with this plane, there's really nothing else out there that flies like it. I mean, this feels like a balsa plane. Watch this tumble I'm gonna do. It does not feel like I'm flying a foam plane. I mean, this thing, the rudder authority on this is out of this world good. Look at this thing go. Wow, that sounds amazing. This does not handle like a massive plane. It handles like a small plane. We haven't even put it into a blender yet. And this is on the Spectrum 7000 battery, and it's just hauling it. Oh man, that's good. It's got so much authority to pretty much do whatever you tell it to do. I wish some of my other planes had this kind of authority, honestly. I just wish the quality was where it should be for the price point. It's not my favorite plane to fly. I don't think I really have a true favorite. They're all good at something or another that others aren't really good at. But man, it's pretty damn good. Still can't believe I'm hovering a twin Otter like this. I do love the differential thrust that I've got set up. I completely bypassed the Aura system to set this up the way I want it to set it up. I really don't care much for integrated gyro solutions that I can't change myself. And yeah, it does take a little bit more work to mix it, but I'll show you guys how to do all this.
I gotta stop myself right here. I just don't have the time to show a setup video for this plane, mostly because it's a ton of work to showcase mixes and setups that I've previously already showed. The E-flite EC1500 video, linked in the description below, has an identical setup to this plane, but if you don't want absolute total control over every control surface like I do, just stick with the Aura system. It's easier and it takes less setup work, but if you're like me and you want to bypass it, hop on Discord if you've got questions that the EC1500 video doesn't explain, and I'll gladly walk you through it.
It's been many months since I've flown this plane last, and I am reminded of why I fell in love with it to begin with. Does it have some QC issues here and there? Yeah, it does. Is it imperfect? Yeah, but you can't argue with how good this thing flies. It is basically one of the best flying planes I have ever flown. It is that good. I will overlook happily any of the dings that I had to give it in the fit and finish section. I had to remember what it is off the top of my head. And any dings I had to give it in the fit and finish section, I could happily forgive for how good this thing flies. I just don't, until you fly something that flies this good, it's like a balsa plane in foam form. It's mind-blowingly good. It's just insane.
Unfortunately, for this to be an unbiased review, I really do have to cover the fit and finish issues that I was alluding to. For the price, I do wish that these weren't problems, but I talked to Flex about it and they said that their primary concern, above all else, is how well the airplane flies. And I do have to agree with that to an extent. But I also see the perspective of, hey, I spent over $800 on something that has paint rubbing off on my hands. The foam was also a bit warped in some spots with an uneven finish. Nothing like what you would expect from less expensive aircraft, and the hinges do eventually come out over time. I can't ding them here for that because the score doesn't account for hinges coming loose. But it's easy enough to fix with some medium CA, and any paint issues can be fixed with Paint Match from a hardware store. It takes up a huge amount of space in my Impala, and requires disassembling almost everything before I can bring it with me, but it does fit. If you've got a smaller vehicle, you may have to play some serious Tetris to get this thing to fit, and it may be all you bring out with you to the field. Assembling this beast is also kind of a pain, and requires two people almost if you don't have the same level of dexterity that I do. But man, it's just worth it. Like I said, I can overlook all of this because of how good it flies, and when I was at Joe Nall recently, I interviewed Kike, and he did say that Flex is working on improving their fit and finish. The new laser is evidence of this. I'm happy to see that they take feedback and they do strive to improve.
So I'm here, this is John with Kike. I can't even begin to pronounce your last name, so I'm not gonna screw it up.
That's okay.
It is a pleasure to meet you. You are a legend of this community. And I just watched him finish flying his twin Otter, which is just gorgeous. I have one of them myself, and this is part of that video. And Kike told me and has shown me that the quality level in these flex planes is going to next level. Look at how beautiful this one is. Do you got any words you want to give me about this?
Yeah, sure. You know, we always work, and I was explaining you, like, our key in our airplanes is about the weight. So we keep the foam material a very lightweight, and it means these beads are going to be a little bit larger.
Yeah.
So then when you paint an airplane, it makes more challenging to sticky, to get the really smooth surfaces.
Right.
But we've been working with our vendor pushing, and this is like, this laser is coming from this new technique we're using.
Yeah.
And you can see how much smooth it is, but we keep the weight.
Zoom in real good, and that it's. I mean, I'm zoomed in all the way on these cells. That is super smooth. I mean, that's hard to believe because I have the twin Otter, and it is a little rough in some spots.
Yes.
But that, I mean, across the entire airframe, it looks like that, which means you guys are taking the feedback that people are giving you, and you're making these things even better, which is amazing to hear.
And just to be fair, we know about it, but we work very hard to improve it. We listen, it's very important, but we always maintain one very important thing for our company, which is performance. We give up a little bit maybe in the looks, but we maintain the performance at top.
Look,
having a little really lightweight and great experience.
You have got a good point there, and I have to concede that. So hey, Kike, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Cheers.
And there it is from the man himself. Who am I to argue? Flex has said that they're improving, so I'm happy to hear it, and I hope to see more improvement in the future. In the meantime, I'm going to keep loving my twin Otter, even though I kinda wrecked it after its first float flight.
That didn't go so good.
No.
The same reason why the Otter does this fantastic front flip is the exact reason why it's susceptible to flipping over with even minor amounts of elevator pressure while it's inverted. Just be aware of that before getting too low. It is literally unrecoverable. That isn't the fault of the plane. Every float plane that I own does this. I'm pretty sure that it's a center of pressure change over the wing, but who knows? Just don't get too low while inverted and you won't run into this problem.
Well, that's unfortunate. I only got a little bit of flying out of it. I waited 7 months and I screwed up. Didn't even heed my own advice. I tried to go an inverted Harrier too low, and because of the pitch sensitivity of the floats, as I mentioned earlier, the center of pressure, I screwed up. I knew that it was going to be a problem. I knew that it was going to have a hard time getting out of it, and I still did it anyway because I'm trying to push my own limits. Well, sometimes when you do that, you make mistakes, and well, that's one of those mistakes. I am doing my best to temper my anger right now because I'm mostly mad at myself for screwing up like this, because this is not a cheap airframe. They didn't send it to me. I had to pay for it out of pocket. As you can see here, this might be repairable. It probably is. I just got to take the floats off. The floats definitely took a hit. I mean, they pushed back into this whole plate. It's going to take a bit of repair work to get this thing back into shape. Ultimately, do I think it's flyable again? It probably is, but with the lightweight of an airplane comes a lack of ability, generally speaking, to take hits, and this thing could not take that hit on the water. I don't think a lot of planes really would have been able to. I can't fault them for that. That was really my own piloting. I screwed that up. Pilot error, it happens to everybody. At least it's part of the crash reel, so they got something cool to show off. I can't wait to go back and look at how stupid that footage looked. Ugh. But anyway, yeah, just so you guys know, don't beat yourself up too much. Mistakes are going to happen to everyone, and how you handle that determines who you are as a person and who you are as a pilot. If you learn from your mistakes as a person and as a pilot, you grow and you become better. But if you get angry and throw a temper tantrum about it, well, you're still stuck in toddler mode, I suppose.
In the avionics and lighting section, the Twin Otter gets most of this right. The servos are great and they're very capable. Plus they're precise too. It's quite rare that you find a stock servo setup that is this good. The ESCs didn't care about anything that I did to them, so I was able to run it around high throttle without a problem. The lighting system works, except it's just landing lights, so it's not correct. A Twin Otter should have wingtip navigation lights. It's a small thing, but I think that it's important. The motor mounts are really well done too. Even a prop strike on the floats from that crash earlier didn't faze them. The Twin Otter gets a 4 out of 5 here. Overall, this plane is just so good in every way that practically matters. You might not think that if you're looking at the score, which is 19 out of 25, but that's largely because of the QC issues that I mentioned before, and none of that detracts from how well the plane flies. Is it scuff prone? Yeah. Does the paint flake off sometimes just looking at it the wrong way? Yeah. Does it fly better than any other 3D foam plane that I've owned? Yeah. If my other 3D foam ships could do what this one does, I wouldn't have had to buy it at all. Do I think that you should get it? Yeah. I don't make money promoting Flex, but I do think that you should consider buying from them, and I highly recommend that you consider letting graphics take the back seat to gameplay. Just this once. Flex said that they'll be improving this going forward, so I'm sure that future versions of the Twin Otter won't have a fit and finish that feels like someone set a durability slider all the way to 0 during the character creation screen. If you're bummed out that I couldn't find the time to get a setup guide done for this plane, I am sorry. I am becoming increasingly busy and it's difficult to find the time to do it, much less the space in my house needed to house this plane while I run the setup. The EC1500 video covers every mix that I used here except for the custom differential thrust setup. And if you want to know my AS3X values if you're bypassing the Aura system, hop on Discord and I'll get that info over to you. Just make sure to read the Setup Guides channel for a write-up on how to do your own differential thrust mix, and let us know what you think in the comments below. See you guys next time.